Hi, Greg.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Pretty good.
Good. Did we get Stacy on tonight?
He's trying.
We're working on it.
Fine.
Well, welcome everybody to Down and Dirty with the Badger State Pullers. Hopefully you guys are having a great Monday evening. What a weekend it was, Greg, huh?
It was a good weekend. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Yep. I didn't have as much fun as some other guys, but yeah, it is what it is. I think as a whole, Badger State did some really good. So Jason Round winning the Pro Stocks. Fritz Brothers, I think, got second, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
In the final. Yeah, and Robbie Lemke and Nesna got fifth in the finals, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. So we did really well, I think. Everybody ran good, had a good showing.
Yes, they did.
Yep. Can you hear me? Is my TV too loud?
No, I can hear you.
Sounds good.
All right. Perfect. Well, what do you want to start with? You want to start with the Super Farm guys? Trips problems, or Don and Don's tractor, and who else was in Super Farm? Punky.
Yeah.
Start there. What do you want to do?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I really think the Screaming Norwegian Punky, I think them guys burned some pistons, is what Durf kind of thought when we were done, and Sean Boyd, when they went down the track, didn't make the pass they wanted to. Do you have their pass up there?
I can. Yeah, it should be behind me, but I could get.
Or whoever's is the easiest to start with in Super Farm, if you want to do that. Trips tractor jumped out of gear, I guess. And they said they took the transmission apart. It did the same thing in Louisville or in Shipshewana. It jumped out of gear, and they didn't find anything wrong with it, he said. So, that kind of stinks when that happens, right?
Yeah. I noticed that right at the end of the run there, you could hear it at the end.
Trips tractor?
Yep.
Were you down there videoing right at the end of the track, or?
I wasn't down at the farm show. Mackenzie was.
Oh, Mackenzie was. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Greg.
Well, if you find it, it's not, or whatever you get, we can talk about whoever you get up there, I guess, right?
That is true. Yeah. Let me see.
What you looking for?
The guys' runs.
Oh, they're at the beginning of the video behind us. We can
share it. Yeah, we can. Well, it's gonna be really glitchy.
Okay.
Yeah, Stacy was down there. That's get on here. Hopefully he can figure it out, get his phone working, and get on here.
I hope so.
Yeah. Punky and them guys had a good run going. Really, I think they were weighted right and balanced right, but just when it started to work down there, then it kind of laid down, and they think they burned some pistons. I don't know if they looked at the computer or just how the engine was breathing or running when we loaded it up. Usually he's pretty stout, right in there. He's got as good a chance as anybody.
Right.
And then, Tripp jumped out of gear. Right when his tractor was loading the motor too. I mean, right at the end, and he had good track speed. Yeah. And I really think he was going to win it until that happened. Mm-hmm. Watching it. So I mean, that would have been great to have that happen, but stuff happens. We know that, right?
Yeah, that's pulling.
That's pulling. You never know something's going to give up. You're going to find the weak spot. And the track. This year, the track in Louisville was as good as it's ever been. I for as long as I can remember, it's as good. It's better than it's been in a long time. For some reason, I don't know. They did a really good job. It took horsepower. Yeah. Making stuff. Just the speed and how things were going. Von Bauer did a good job setting the track or the sled and putting guys right where they needed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they did they?
What's that?
They didn't reweigh the sled, did they? At any point?
One Super Farm class, I believe they did.
Oh, okay.
The first tractor hit the sand pretty hard, and they reweighted it. But I don't know if they watched two tractors that session or not. But I know at one point they did, because the guy backed right up and did it again.
Oh, okay.
He backed right up. I don't know who it was, and when again, I thought, oh, you're crazy. It's, when a track is hot,
Right.
Yeah.
it's hard. Even at a super farm tractor gets hot, and they just don't run as good when you back up there and do that. I mean, granted, the track is better. You can take that chance and run it again, but I've very seldom ever seen anybody just back. Don Slomba did it one time outdoors somewhere, backed up and still won it back. They reset the sled. We reset the sled. He backed up right away and hooked up to it and went again and won. And I think that was when most of the time an early hook is, no matter what class you're in, it's better. It's very seldom the track gets better.
Right.
If you're outdoors and the sun is going down, yes, the track is going to get better. It's right. It's that time. If you're second class, in the summer or third, whatever is working out, and the sun is going down, the track does get better. The moisture comes up especially if it's a drier track, the moisture starts coming up and it gets better. But very seldom can you back right up and hook up to it and go, and then you get to, it was Tripp and then Fritz Brothers.
Yeah.
Who else pulled that night with, Tori Slama. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. She had a tough ride. And I'm wondering if there's something wrong, cause something happened in Highland last year remember when that tractor went down the track and she shot right out of bounds?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they have fully figured that out yet. Right?
I don't know, because she kind of shot left and when she ran here.
Left? Yeah. Yeah. Which way did you remember which way she shot in Highland that night?
Oh gosh, I wasn't even there.
I thought that was right, but it was because she had her wheels turned a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Left or right? It's got to be one of them, right?
Yeah. I mean, we got two choices there.
Right. Yep. Left or right. But
Dirk Curry says left.
Left. Yep. Okay. So it did the same thing at the farm show, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Dirk got a good seat at everything this year. That's first year working on the farm show. Probably should have got him on here, but I forgot all about it. Never thought of it. But Stacy was supposed to be on here, and I'm thinking he's trying to figure it out yet.
Yeah, we're telling him what to do.
Okay. Keep helping him. Us old guys need that help with this stuff, This doesn't come that easy. Right. I do the same thing. I finally figured out how to mirror it to my TV so I can see it on the TV way better than I can watching my phone. I did that for the first year. And then actually Strandley's the one that told me, hey, you can mirror that to your TV so you don't have to watch your phone.
Yeah.
And it's pretty neat to do that. It's a lot bigger, but and then Tori, I hope there's nothing wrong with the tractor, but it's something you might have, if that keeps happening, I would think you have to take it apart and figure it out, right?
There's the man.
Did I make it?
You got it. There's Stacy.
I'm so technically challenged, let me tell you.
Right.
I guess, Greg, the one question I have is, do you think there was a difference in sled usage from this year to last year? What do you think was different?
About the sled?
Yeah, between the red and the green one.
I can answer that. I can answer that. I talked to a few people about that sled. The pan on that red sled is 2 feet longer than the pan on the other sleds.
Oh, really?
Yes. And the pullers I talked to, and they weren't just Badger State pullers, they said that sled is very hard to steer with that extra 2 feet on there. It seems like it acts like a rudder. And you can lay on the brake as hard as you want, and it may not come around for you.
Yep, it does not correct. I know that. I mean, guys, I have a single caliper on my brakes, and there's guys that are putting 2 calipers on their brakes now just so they can get it to do that, because you can push as hard as you want, and it don't seem like you're going to correct it, so you got to aim it straight.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that. All them guys going out on the left-hand side, and it's because that sled, you can't steer it because that extra 2 feet on it. If you look at the pan on that thing, that pan's all the way back to the tires on the back of the sled.
Oh, really? And then it probably matters where the grouser bars are stationed on it too, right?
Oh, I'm sure if he's got grouser bars way in the back there, you aren't going to turn that thing because they're a long ways away from the pivot point.
Right. It takes a lot of leverage to get it to turn and straighten out.
Absolutely.
And if one tire gets, especially the light pro class is where you really see it, because them guys are spinning their tires pretty hard. And if one tire gets a little more traction than the other one, it shoots them, there it's always going to shoot you to the left. It is. If you're in the middle of the track, if you're on the left side, I don't know. The right side is tough because it's hard for them to pack the track there with the tractors when they do their awards presentation, right?
Well, the smoke tube gets drugged down the right-hand side of the track all the time too. So that side of the track just generally doesn't see as much maintenance, and that follows true with indoor pulling in general because we see the same thing at Shipshewana.
Yep.
You don't want to be on the right side of the track over there because that's where the smoke tube's at all the time. So for some reason, it just must not get as much attention from the track crew, not intentionally, obviously, but that smoke tube laying around there all the time.
Yeah, just the way it is. You got to work around it, and you got to pull around it too,
Yep. Jason Round did a good job of driving around it.
He did. And to tell you the truth, and I'm not saying this, but just to be saying it, because I was going to go there my night, if the track got it, because we were like fifth hook, and we said if it's really getting tore up in the middle, we're going to drive down that White Mason. My son and I were down there, and we talked about put it on the left side, but it seemed to be still working in the middle. So we said, well, let's just go there then.
Yeah, because if you run the left side, you run the risk of that sled kind of steering you a little more to the left, and then with the 200, and that's another thing about Louisville. Everybody's got to consider you're running on a track that's probably 100 feet shorter than what you will on in the summertime.
Yep.
And you got a heavy sled, and everything. That box is coming up in a hurry. If you ride the brake at all anyway, you're probably going to kill your pull.
Yeah, you're done. 250 feet, you can't correct hardly anything. You have to do it the first 50 feet if you're going to do it.
Yeah, and he was, and a lot of the classes, he was blocking that box ahead. I would say as much as 2 feet at least. On the modifieds, he had it half out of the doghouse.
You want to explain to people that don't what you mean by that, Stacy?
Well, the weight box on them sleds, when it goes all the way back to the starting position, it'll be in what I call the doghouse, which is right underneath the cab. There's a little, it's a little housing there, and that box will go all the way inside of there for the most part when it's all the way back. And they've got a set of pins, or I'm not exactly sure what he's got. I'm sure it's probably a set of pins and holes probably drilled every 6 inches up them rails. So when so he can adjust how far that box comes back. And he sets them pins 6, 12, 18 inches, 24, whatever, towards the front of the sled. So the box doesn't come back as far for each puller. And basically what that is, it's a way of, sending the box. You start out with the box like as if you were already 50 feet down the track, basically. And because we're pulling shorter, that's one of the adjustments they make. And when that box is starting out that far ahead, you only roll about 25 feet down the track, and next thing you know, it's crossing over the rear tires and putting a load on you.
Yep. It's an easy way to short the track up 50 feet or 100 feet. You just start it. It's already started at 50 feet. You're not taking it off the big end. You're taking it off the starting end.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it is. And it's keeping you from getting too much speed up, because if you get a lot of speed up on a short track like that early in your run, they'll have a hard time lassoing you up on the other end. So it works that way also. And another thing I seen, I sat up in the stands all weekend up there. I sat with the 21 people that were on tour from the Netherlands and Germany. It was a pretty interesting bunch. But I was talking to a lot of guys about stuff down there. And some of the other classes where he didn't block the box ahead real far, when they take off the front of that pan, the pan itself would come up off the ground 6 inches or so, and they'd roll it out there until the box came down far enough to get over the duals on the back of the sled itself, and then put a little load on the pan, and then that's when the guys' front ends would come up and they're hang on, but let's go. But they're losing all their drawbar at the start of the hook, and so a lot of guys, they'd come off the line and they'd bury the throttle, and they weren't going anywhere because they lost all their drawbar. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of the hay was made at the pulls there over the weekend.
Well, but there, we talk in our class, the pan does come up, and you're shooting that dirt under the pan. It's not piling in front of the pan. You don't have to pull that. I mean, there's two ways to look at that.
Yeah.
You know, you might want to get after it right away, get as much speed as you can before you get your tires spinning. Before that pan hits the ground and starts pushing the dirt, it's sliding it underneath too.
Yeah.
You know, there's things to look at, good and bad. You have to decide which way you want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do. You know, you can try and go slower and get your tires hooked up and get going, or you can pin it and get the dirt under the pan and not pile it in the front.
Yeah.
You know, because if you look, that pan works like a bulldozer. You know, if you got a half a yard or 2 yards of dirt in front of that, and you got to drag that the whole way, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you know that's why guys say, well, why don't you just have big lugs on the tractors, bigger lugs and all that? And you can, well, because you throw more dirt in front of that pan, you know, and you have to pull that along.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You have to find that fine line in between.
Well,
I think.
If you go back far enough, I don't know, maybe it's 10 years ago or so, probably 15. Remember when everybody used to put a set of single cuts on just for Louisville?
The spades. Yep, they called them spades. They had half-inch lugs on, but they were only half as many lugs.
Yeah, yep, and they were just V bars. They weren't double cuts. They were just V bars. And so the next thing you know, everybody's buying a set of tires just for Louisville. And then they finally told everybody enough of that because they said it was tearing the track up too much, I guess.
It was. If you weren't an early hook when they had them on, you were screwed.
Yeah.
You didn't, you know, because they tore the track up. They did. And I had a set of them. The Super Farm guys used them in the summer. You know, and Dwayne Hook, the year he won it, he had my spades on there. They borrowed from me from the summer what I run, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. So they were good. And that's why, you know, I can't afford to do, but I'd sure like to have a second set of tires just for Louisville to set them up a little different. You know, but you can't buy a set of tires just for that. I'm not doing that. But there's guys that do. Yeah.
Well, my luck, if I had a big tractor and was pulling Louisville, I'd buy a set of tires just for Louisville, then I wouldn't get invited that year.
Right. Somebody borrow them from me if you did. You know, if they thought, but there's guys that don't think they work. You know,
yeah, I'm sure.
I think on a short track, a bigger lug can get going, but who knows? I mean, guys say no because you put too much dirt in front of the pan too.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Yeah. And since we're on the subject of tires, there, I couldn't help but notice that Blackbirds had Puller 2000s on.
Mm-hmm. I know
under heavy super stocks.
Yep, and, the old Firestones,
yeah, the old Puller 2000s. I didn't think there's any of them tires laying around anymore.
No, they're around. I know a couple guys got them in the sheds. You know, they're Super Farm guys are still using them. There's Super Farm guys still using them tires. They work for them. You know, you have to pick the one you want. So what in Super Farm, the Fritz brothers, they got first the first night, or their qualifier, or second?
Yes.
No, they got first.
Yes.
First, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Yep. They had a beautiful pass there. And then they got to the finals. They were the only ones to make it to the finals of Super Farm. And right at the end, they blew their fuel return line, which hurt the pressure in the pump. And you kind of hear the tractor. It was spraying fuel about 230 feet, I would say, everywhere. And it just laid down. Mm-hmm. You know, you could hear it lay down. And you know, they lost their fuel pressure and the fuel supply pressure, I should say. And if you don't maintain at least 40 or 50 pounds of fuel supply pressure, the pumps don't work. It doesn't feed the pump as well. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's tough. That's luck, you know, stuff, you know, something like that happens. And other than that, I think they'd have been right in there. They'd have made the top three if that wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
So they were right in there. Yeah. Super Farm class. What else? We got anybody else there we need to cover?
Not that I can think of.
I don't think so.
I think we covered all. Punky burning his pistons, you know, and Tori taking a hard left, you know, and that's about it, right? And Tripp's transmission jumping out of gear. I'll guarantee that'll get fixed because that's happened 2 times in a row for Tripp, and he's not going to put up with that. They'll figure that out. You know, that's Robbie's transmission, and they had it apart and didn't find anything though. But obviously there's something. They, you know, have to take it apart again and look at it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is a stout Super Farm tractor. And so is Punky. They all are. Everybody there is. You don't get to go there unless you're running top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the thing about Louisville with the super farms, with the Badger State super farms, all them guys got to take their intercoolers off for Louisville.
Yep.
Yep. I don't, I know they try to tune them as best they can without the intercooler to get back to where they're supposed to be. I did hear that Tripp had several dyno pulls on his trying to get it back, and he got it back to 30 horse of what it was with the intercooler. But I don't know. It seems to me like if you're taking a little bit of power away from the guys, then putting them on a short track with a heavy sled, it's quite a challenge.
Right. I think they should do it every other year. Make the NTPA guys put an intercooler on the next year. Then that'd be the fair way to do it, right? 1 year you run run the Lucas Oil setup, and the next year you run the NTPA setup.
Yeah.
Right. That to me would be fair. Tripp told me the first pass after taking the intercooler off, they were down 350 horse.
Really?
And they played around the dyno till they got it back.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't be telling everybody. He told me this. I'm going to say it again, right? It's a secret, but he did. They were smart enough. He was up there with James Slama up at Slama's dyno. I think he was there for 2 days to get that, find it and figure it out and get it back. And I think they had to change turbos and put, a different turbo on it and got it to where it needs to be. Obviously it was running good and just he was making hay until it popped out of gear.
Yeah, needs to put a bungee strap on the gear shifter.
Right, maybe a ratchet strap. That bungee might give up. You might have the ratchet that back.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess in the limited pro class too, we can go on to the guys. We had a good number. We had 3 guys from Badger State in there, and 2 other guys from Wisconsin other than Badger State. Jared Fredericks was in there. John Coots and John Mayer Jr. are full-time Badger State pullers, pulled with us, and then James Geezy. It ain't easy being Geezy, And then Kevin Lindstrom, and they all ran good. Kevin won it all, and I think Jared got third in the finals.
Yeah. And I believe, going back to tires, I believe 4 of the finalists were on Parks pullers. Am I correct?
They could have been, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But does Kevin run Parks? Did he have Parks on, or did he have whole shots? Or I don't think Kevin won them. Did Kevin win it, right?
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I'm not sure what he had on.
Whole shots or Mitas, I believe.
Yeah,
but the Parks tires were good.
I don't believe they can't run Mitas in limited pro. I don't believe, at least in NTPA.
They can't really. Okay, there was a rule they made.
That's what I was told.
But I thought they rescinded that.
Oh, Kevin had Parks on.
He had Parks on?
Okay. Yeah, that's what
Kevin had Parks pullers on?
Yep, perfect. But they, the Parks tires over this weekend.
I was told. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
the Parks tires
I was told
great.
NTP. Yeah.
Does anybody out there let us know if NTPA allows Parks tire?
No, I'm trying to find my mouse here, but Geezy says they cannot.
They cannot meet us in NTPA.
Yeah.
All right. I thought they rescinded that rule, but that's the way it goes. Make a rule. I don't know why you would make that rule, but the competition is competition.
Mm-hmm.
But the Parks tires worked. I'm sure Bob Parks is very happy they all love the Mitas tires.
Oh,
NTPA's. I mean, is that all classes or just hot farm? There's a 48 lug rule in it, and yep. Is that for all classes? I don't really pay attention to what NTPA does, but I know in other classes.
I think it's just for the
4-1s.
Yeah, just the 4-1s that I know of.
Yeah. The other guy we had there was John Cootson. He had a good run going too, but he got a little far to the left and it pulled him out of bounds,
Yeah.
Oh, he did go.
Yep. He I don't know if he went out of bounds, but he was going to. If he would have did what he did, he would have went out of bounds. He was on the brake car.
I knew he was close.
Yeah, it was. he didn't go out of bounds, but he was, when you get on the brakes, you're done. If you have to get on that brakes that hard enough to straighten it out, you're done.
Yeah. Craig Wildman said he was standing on that brake trying to keep it off that line.
Right. And it's hard. Once you do that, every time you slam the brakes, it takes 5 feet off. It does. It's just hard. That's what I've been told. And that's what I've experienced. So it is what it is. But the 4-1 class to me down there the last probably 3 or 4 years has been the most entertaining class, I think. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah. I'd say it was a pretty good show. Not all year round. All around. Yeah, he says he believes the top 4 tractors on Thursday night session had 4 different cuts that did the work. Right.
And was it Thursday? They were top 4 were all Badger State tractors, right? Or Wisconsin tractors, I should say. Wisconsin, yeah. Yep. So that was a good showing, So 4-1s run good down there for us. We've done well in that class, and Gerlach's last year got second in the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
So which
I had a great time down there. I was down there for the whole week. I sat with that tour group the whole time I was there, and they were a pretty entertaining bunch. Only a couple of them spoke half decent English. The other ones just smiled and nodded their heads a lot, but it was a lot of fun. And seeing everybody, it's nice just getting back, seeing everybody. A lot of people there, man. They had big crowds there. It was Thursday. You could get a seat, but after that, or I should say Wednesday, but after that, it was starting to fill up pretty good. I had to start sitting in my assigned seats. What I had to do, that's what I mean there. But it was just a lot of fun, a lot of pullers, good action, some carnage. Greg, you got the honor of being the worst turbo blow up that I've seen in a long time. Probably, for a single charge, I think it was probably the most spectacular that I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of turbos get lunched over my years, so congratulations on that.
Right.
But it was just a lot of fun. The action was good.
Yeah. Kevin Lindstrom's on here. He says the Light Pro, Limited Pro, and Super Farm are limited to 48 bars in NTP, but it must not be able to run Mitaz tires for some reason there, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not in the 4-1.
Well, not in Super Farm. I don't know. Maybe just the 4-1s. I don't know. Kevin, can you answer us if they
4-1s are the ones for sure?
Mitaz just in the 4-1s, the only place you can't run them, or is it all classes? Pro Stocks run Mitaz there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know which class, if it's just for them 3 classes or something. But that was a good class. That's my down there. That's one of the best classes. It's a great class here to watch too, but down there it is very competitive. And I don't know if it's because they do actually just invite the top points winners in each club. Badger State got 3 in there, but to myself, I think, well, in Badger State, if you go every week, you have to compete against 15 to 18 guys every week. Some other clubs, you're only competing against 6 guys.
Mm-hmm.
So is it fair to take the top 2 from every club then? That these guys, top 2, that's a third of their class gets to go down if they only have 6 guys there that run their points the whole time. Where we have 15 guys, 14, 15 guys that are there every night. So that's, to me, that's the right way to do it. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but that's the way it should be. I see the Grand National, even the Silver Series in Lucas Oil, they only have 3 or 4 guys that compete that go to every one of them.
Right.
So to win that is a lot easier than competing against guys that are there, 12 guys every time or 15 guys every time. So I think they get that right, and I think that's why down in Louisville that is the most competitive class. I feel. I don't know what do you think, Stacy?
Well, it's interesting, you think some guys get passed over. Gerlach's finished second there last year, and they applied this year, and they didn't get invited back. And
right.
They were kind of wondering why. I don't know where Mike finished in the points this year in Badger State.
I think it was 4th or 5th. They were right next to Avery and Mason, one way or the other.
So that must. Yeah, that must be what they go by, is what you did for me lately, I guess. But then on the other hand, you got guys coming in with brand new tractors that are unproven with no record. So the way I've been told is, or the way I hear it, I should say, is that it's an invitational pull and they invite who they want.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is, you know. I'm sure they base a lot of it off statistics and stuff and everything, but you know, I mean,
right.
you brought out your brand new pro stock down there, did you not, Greg?
What's that?
You brought out your brand new New Holland pro stock. That's where you
debuted
it
there. Right? I did debut it there, and you know, that's just because it was something different. I don't know.
Oh, I
have no idea. I thought I'd apply, and they took him. Who is the guy that just said about the Mid-South does have a lot of tractors there?
Keith Ralston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's right. They have a lot of tractors there too, you know. So just like we're talking, you don't exactly know how they're going to do it, and I just assume that's what they do, you know. Why we got 3 in there, and some other clubs only got one or two in there, because there's clubs that only have, like I said, the Silver Series. There's only 3 or 4 tractors that run that hard, and to win that, sure, you travel around a lot, but you only beat 3 to 4 tractors.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, some organizations, you know, they only got 8 hooks for the year too. You know,
right.
To me, that's a big part of it too. How much did you pull?
Right. Kevin says, and I did hear this too. The Limited Pros had the most applications. I heard it was like 62 tractors. I think applied.
Yeah.
Yep. And just apply. Yeah. I tell everybody. I tell everybody to apply. I don't know, you know, what it is, but if your name isn't there, you're surely not going to go. You know, if you don't apply, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. If you don't apply, you're not going. Just apply.
You won't get in that way.
I've been told no a lot of times about stuff.
And you know, Shavik, and you know, Gary Shavik didn't get invited back this year. You know,
right.
I don't know how he did this summer. Did the summer pulling, but you know, gosh, the year before he's your NTP champion, and I think he won a qualifier at Louisville. And did he win the finals? I don't know if he did or not last year, but I can't remember. But I mean, he's performed very well down there. But
he did.
He didn't get invited back.
Right.
No.
So I know it's important though to keep track of your how you do in the summer and have more information there when you apply. I mean, give more information than, you know, I feel is better for you. I don't know if I'm right or not. I don't know the guys down there any better than anybody else does, but I've been going there for 32 years. You know, 1991 was the last time I missed going there. You know, so I know all the guys, Danny Christiani and Mike Witt and all them guys. I know them all, but I never talk to them about any of this stuff. I don't. It just doesn't. You know, it's not my business. It's their deal. You know, but they get a great bunch of tractors. There's a lot of great tractors in this country, you know, and they only can have, you know, 12 per class per session. So, you know, you got to figure, you know, you got to draw the line somewhere, because everybody wants to go to Louisville. That's for sure. Yep. That's a good time, you know, and then I guess we can move on to light pros. We didn't have anybody there for light pros this year, I don't think, did we?
We did not.
No, so.
Nope.
Yep. So that, you know, that's a fun class to watch too. I mean, but that short track hurts them guys, because they got to get after it faster than they want to, and it makes them hard to steer and stay on track. But that's a good class to watch too. There's always something going on there too.
Yeah.
You know,
did you guys touch on the 4-wheel drive truck that went through the sand and hit the wall?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Nope. We did not do that. Nope. But there was a question on here a little bit ago. We can start with Pro Stocks too, about John Links and my turbo. You know, John split the exhaust housing on his. And it wrecked it. I mean, everything was junk. Just same like mine. And mine, the compressor wheel came out. And on mine, the compressor housing was intact 100%. But I still had the cover on, the Kevlar cover, plus the thing. They made us put some, you know, 3 weeks before the pull in Louisville, they sent us And that's a good idea. It's a safety strap. It's another strap. I mean, it took me 10 minutes to put it on. I mean, it was nothing complicated, but it's very simple, and it'll help if something ever comes. Like if your compressor housing would ever split and fly off, this would keep it there. I believe 100%. The next thing after this would be bolts that the compressor housing bolts to the center section. That's the only thing they can let go now, and everything's counting on them. But I've never seen one of them come off. So, but somebody had one of these turbos on a dyno. And my question is, we put this thing on. Did he have his Kevlar cover on it too when it came apart? I don't know. That might have just worked alone, but this thing was. They charged a few bucks for it. We put it on. It's not in the way. It was very easy to put on. I should have emailed you a picture of what it was. I've got it on my thing, but I never thought about it here tonight. But it's got 3 straps on it. It's got plates. The back plate is 2 halves that bolt together behind the cover, and then it's a whole ring in the front. And there's 3 straps that hold it together. And they're sewn together like ratchet strap material, heavy material, and it goes underneath your cover. You don't even know it's there, but everything worked. Mine bounced off the intercooler when it came off down and hit the bottom and hit the hood. It bounced around inside for a long time. And if you play the video, I could hear it. You were playing the video before. Mm-hmm. That rattling you heard was the compressor wheel inside the housing. It never left that. We have what we call a potato slicer behind there, and it stayed in there till it was just basically a perfect round ball. We pulled it out tonight. I don't know if I can send you pictures to put it up on here, Mackenzie, while I'm on here.
Yeah. You should be able to.
I can send you a picture of it. I'm going to try. All right. If I lose you, I'll jump back on. Okay.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
All right.
We can still see you.
Yeah. You just have a black screen, but yeah.
All right. So here it comes. I'm going to send it to you in text. All right.
Okay. I'll just save them. It'll be fine.
If I can find MC. How do you spell your name?
MAC.
MAC. Hold on. I screwed this up already. MAC. I did. I thought I put it on here.
Tonight we're learning about how to send messages, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
How technology works.
I'm going to send it to Chandler because I know his.
Yeah, his name is simple.
Yeah. Chandler Bang.
There you go.
Chandler Bang.
Did it show up?
It should. Yep, I got him.
Okay. All right, I'm back.
No,
there we go. All right, but yeah, if you put that up there, what we call a potato slicer, it worked perfect inside. And if you'll probably replay that video, but you can hear all that grinding. At the end, and that's what it was. That thing was spinning in there for it seemed like hours when I was sitting there, and I was wondering what is going on. I didn't know what happened. I thought did I break a crank or what happened? But I didn't see the fireball. I didn't see anything. The only thing I seen was a cameraman running. That's all I've seen. But if you get a chance to put that up there, I mean that's or the video or whatever you want to do, yeah. Yep. If you look in there, that X there, we call it the potato slicer, and it's right up against the bolt of the exhaust wheel, and it doesn't let it get any momentum to go flying out because we all heard about the accident in Pennsylvania, but that guy had all his right stuff on there, but it still came out the pipe as of rules at that point. But the rules have changed now, but that did save it. I couldn't believe it was still in there. It sounded like it was grinding above my head. It was making a heck of a racket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so
that is on the exhaust side, Greg?
Yep, that's the exhaust side.
Okay.
Yep. And I don't know what broke first. Who knows? And why it broke, you'll never know. Right? You don't know.
Yeah.
So, and I thought I had a pretty good pass. I didn't have much left. I don't know if I'd have placed any better if it hung in there or not.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Is that put that picture back up? Is that little ball at the bottom? Is that what's left of your impeller?
Yeah, that's left. That's what's left of the wheel.
Wow.
And you can see the compressor side I didn't take any pictures of, but it looked like it laminated aluminum around the inside of the. What does that say above my head there?
Yeah, down at the bottom there. That's what's left of the compressor or the exhaust wheel.
Yep, that's what it stayed in there. It didn't come out. Pieces came out.
Yep.
You know, if you look at if there's pictures too, I can send you. I don't have that on mine, but the smoke tube caught on fire too.
Huh.
From all the shrapnel, I believe the hot shrapnel coming out there. There was fire in the tube. You know, but it went out right away. You know,
I can't find my mouse. I have a problem here.
Yeah, that one black super stock had fire in the tube also there on Friday night.
You know, but could it be fuel that goes in there too? Your oil, you know, my oil tank for my turbo was at the same level. You know, so we started with, so it didn't shoot a lot of oil out. You know, it didn't go drop at all. You know, just, you know, every year you're doing something's going to happen, and every year you make a safety step to help save stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's just the way it is, right? You know, but Weimers have been putting.
Yeah, if you wouldn't have had that potatoes.
Yeah, Weimers have been putting this on their turbo since I've been buying them for the last 4 or 5 years. They've had this on there. You know, this isn't something new for them. On the pro stocks, but on their limited pros and all the other ones, they did add that this year. You know, so it works good. Do you want to run the video and play the sound from it, Mackenzie? So you can hear this is what was rattling around in there, and it was making a heck of a noise. You know, if you can get it to the end of it, yeah.
Just share it on that.
Yeah. And just hang on 1 second. I'm losing my mouse. Is this one I want? Okay.
But you know, the other guy we want to congratulate is Randy Brew and Lemke's for making the finals in pro stock, and then Jason Round is a member of our club. He won it. You know, he made a heck of a pass. His tractor ran great. You know, and they set it in the right spot, especially the qualifier night. He set it way to the left. There's a pass there.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, I was thinking about doing that myself, but I didn't have big enough cojones to do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it, but I didn't.
You know, Jason's got good equipment. There's no, you know, we know that, but boy, he sure drove the wheels off that thing the whole weekend down there. For him to make that run in the finals, that just was an exact repeat of the run he made in his qualifier. That was very impressive because you guys know how driving these tractors down the track are. A lot of times they just go where they want to, and he was able to run that thing in the exact same place twice to victory both times. I mean, that was very impressive to me. Right.
He's got a good crew man there in Tim Vorwald too.
Yeah.
That guy knows. He's been around pulling his whole life.
Yes.
You know, he knows that that's a a guy like that. He knows what he's going to do and wants to do too.
Yes. Yes.
You know, he does. So yeah. But Randy making it. I think he ended up 5th or 6th in it. You know, Lemke's I think got 5th. I think Randy got 6th, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Remember right? I didn't have time to look stuff up today. Got home, I had to fix fence. The cattle knocked the fence down. They were out fixing the fence all day.
All right, here is the video.
Boy, you can really hear that thing rattling around in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad, but the tractor was still idle.
Greg?
Yeah.
Hey, Greg,
Yeah.
how many RPMs do they say that them wheels are spinning inside them turbos?
I think if they go over 110,000, bad things happen.
Oh man.
It might have been that. and what you do to slow it down is you push more. There's water nozzles in front of the turbo, and you throw more water at it to slow it down, and it keeps it cool so it doesn't do that. And we had a lot of water running in front of it too. So I don't know. I really wish I went up a gear. I don't know if that still would have saved it or not. Because I had some pretty good R's coming down the track. But it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I did hear Kevin Masterson when Daryl Foltz run the Tinker Toy Wednesday night. He said that they ran a gear that they normally wouldn't run in Louisville.
Yeah. Yep. I should have been up a gear too. And Randy Brew told me to move up a gear, and I was going to, and then I played it safe again. I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Playing it safe gets you nowhere, right?
Yeah, right.
But it is what it is, and he said he wished he'd have shifted up a gear too. But congratulations to them guys and all the guys that made it. And it's fun. It's a lot of work to go down there. I commend everybody that goes. You get done putting it together and take it down there. It's so much work. It's not, and it's just fun, And the one thing I always think about too, what happened to me, did you seen the Slavonics tractor down there? What's the name of it?
Bootlegger.
The what?
Bootlegger.
Yeah, bootlegger, and the new tractors with all that shiny stuff under the hood. So could you imagine? That wheel can come out of their turbo too, and I can show you. We'll take pictures of what it did underneath my hood. All the stuff that's dinged up and banged up. I'd be sick.
Mm-hmm.
Am I the only one that feels that way?
Oh yeah, I would.
Because I can't buff that stuff out.
No.
Those are badges of honor.
They are. They are, and they're going to stay there, because I'm not buying, I got to buy a turbo, but that's it. But like I said, my tractor was idling yet at the end when it all stopped. I thought I had it shut off, and I didn't. It was running naturally aspirated.
Now, Greg, do you feel that the intercooler probably caught a lot of stuff?
Oh yeah, it caught it all. We ran it. We ran the intercooler, and it wasn't leaking, but you still have to take it apart and clean it out. And Robbie's new billet intercoolers, I mean, the old ones, when they used to break, you'd have to throw them away. Robbie built these that there's cores in them. He's got the core there. If something's wrong, you just unbolt it. It's all bolted together. You take it out and you put a new core in it.
Oh, Robbie builds these intercoolers that you guys are running now?
Yeah. Yep.
I was not aware of that.
Lucian Coolers from the Netherlands, our good friend, and he found us the cores for them. And they're very durable. I don't know if I need a new one or not, but you're still going to take it apart and check it because, guys that have had the intercoolers break during a pass or start leaking, you suck all that extra water in your motor. That's rough on them too.
Right.
And
the classes that don't have an intercooler, when they launch a turbo like that, it goes into the motor, correct?
Yeah. Yep. They did. Can you repeat that again, Stacy? I was trying to read what somebody was writing there. What'd you ask?
I said tractors that don't have intercoolers, like the 4.1s, if they eat a turbocharger like what you did, that part goes into them parts go into the motor, don't they?
They do. But there's guys building a catch can for in your line now to catch that stuff. A screen. It's a little bigger, and it has the same. I would call it vents, that the air is, say you've got a 4-inch pipe. They've got enough airflow in that and it'll catch some of the stuff before it goes in the motor. You can buy them. I know Robbie makes them and I think a couple other guys do too, but that's going on our 4.1 tractor. just for that reason. Because that stuff gets in the motor and it bends valves, and it's just not good for anything. It wrecks sleeves and gets stuck. It wrecks everything. You've got to take it 100% apart, and when you do, there's going to be shrapnel in there, and if it's gone up and down 50 times, it's probably junk. Yeah. You score your sleeves or scar them, and it's just not good. But the intercoolers is a good catch for all that stuff. What's crazy is people, you realize if you come and look at a tractor, like mine, the pipe going to the intercooler, the paint is all basically changed colors and burnt. And the one coming out of the intercooler into the tractor is just like the day we painted it. The air coming out is generally 600 to 700 degrees, and going into the intercooler is under 200. So all that smoke going out the top, there's that much air coming in the motor. And it cools it that fast. We have 100 pounds of ice in there, and it's melted, and it's melted before you're at the end of the track.
I find that interesting that the catch canner, or whatever you want to call it, the trash collector that you guys are going to start putting on. I always wondered about that too, but I always figured pullers, being how pullers are, they would think, well, that's going to be too much of a restriction for my setup, and I don't want to do that.
I would like to try it on the dyno, before we do it, just to see, because if it does hurt you, then if it does hurt you, nobody's going to do it. But,
right.
You could on your computer, I'm sure you could put a boost sensor on each side of it, so you'd know if there's more before it or after it, or if it's the same. You know what I mean? You could plug that in pretty easy.
Yeah.
Because if it's more before it, obviously it's slowing the air down, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's where it is.
So we got about 5 minutes left. Would you like to explain what Randy's got going on here with his hedgehogs?
I don't know that. I thought he called them furries.
Oh, you never.
I don't know. I tried to get him on a video, and he wouldn't come talk about it. I don't know. He's got him there for dirt and dust. Don't get in there. He's got a dog. Mindy bought him for him so that when he's done here, the dogs have a toy to play with him. So that's because he was looking for Nerf footballs, and he couldn't find Nerf footballs anymore. He wanted to put Green Bay Nerf footballs in there, but they couldn't find any. So that's what they came up with. So we like to pick on Randy. He's an easy target.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It's fun to pick on him, but he's a good guy and one of my good friends, and that's the only reason you can pick on him is because you're friends, right?
Exactly.
We had some guys, the Meisters we were in Dennis Fry's booth, the Meisters from Nebraska. He's got a dyno shop or something there, I gather. And then they were in there, and he says, you guys pick on, I know why we fit in here, because you guys talk just like we do. It was a lot of fun,
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun. I want to thank Dennis and Fair Valley Performance for putting up with us for the weekend in there and taking care of us. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So Dennis has got a new tool, I was told to. He's got I forget what he called it, a laser that cuts out. He's going to be able to cut out hard metals. He always had to farm it out. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do a 5 or 10 minute spiel, go down there and take a look at it. And we'll have that on the show too. And Chris Feller says he's got a bunch of video of them making the new V8 blocks, the Cat block and the Perkins block. So we'll get them all on here. So all the steps it took. The Perkins blocks are done and delivered, I believe, but I don't know if some of the guys are going to have them out for the next summer, but some stuff, they have to redo some stuff to make them work. But the 3208 blocks, Chris is waiting. He wants to see where a stock one breaks, so he knows where to make sure he makes that part heavier. Mm-hmm. When he machines it apart.
Yeah. I got a couple of things I want to add before we sign off here. First and foremost, I want everybody to keep our good buddy John Strandley and his family in their thoughts and prayers. They're in a pretty tough patch right now, and it's nobody should have to go through what they're going through. So hearts go out to them, and I want to congratulate all the Badger State pullers that made it to Louisville. I mean, that's an honor in its own getting there, and the performances were excellent. You made this old announcer pretty proud watching you guys run down there. It was a good time, and looking forward to the summer. That's for sure.
Yep, I want to everybody think about John too. He like Stacy said, he is going through a rough patch right now, and I hope it all works out for him. But pray for him, please. Everybody pray for him.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, just like Stacy said, I've never been more proud of the Badger State Pullers than this year we were down there and how good we did as a club. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank our sponsors, Don Slama, Trip Downing, Ed Casper, and Front Street Toys with Matt Castor, and we're going to get down to Matt sometime, and we're going to do a video down there, and see what Dirk's got something on our competitor. BSTB got a lot of complaints for pullers in the pits on how competitive for a state organization. We're too competitive for a state organization, I guess, huh? It is. It is. I mean, you're only as good as your competition, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Yep. That's exactly it. So, but there isn't a bunch of guys around that are more fun than the Badger State Pullers. It's crazy, and then how loyal of friends that they all are. So, it is. I love what we've got going on.
Yep.
So
Alrighty.
Yep. Again, I want to thank everybody for watching. And next week, I don't know, I'm going to be in Vegas, so I'm going to have to do the show from Vegas. So where do you want me to be when I do this show? Everybody text me or let me know.
Yeah.
I got a round trip ticket for $108. I'm going.
Yes. That's the deal.
Yep. All right.
All right. So we will see you guys next week.
Yep. Thanks for everybody. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks.